Ah, first flames. Oh, that smells absolutely delicious. This was ideal, and you want to put this. Hello, welcome to WayPoint Survival. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a hobo survival shelter. Stay tuned. Because the classic hobo was a traveling working man, very much distinguished from either a tramp or a bum, he had unique needs because of his outdoor experience. Many of them were veterans, many of them were shell-shocked, we'd know that as PTSD today, and some were just adventurers. But for the real hobo, they had a real work ethic, and they wanted to pull their own freight, as it were, and work their way. They did not want to just go around begging for handouts. However, there were times they had to seek shelter in different areas when they couldn't find anything available for them. Of course, there were all sorts of places then as there are now. There were culverts and bridges and places under railroads, and there were areas where they could find shelter from the weather. Sometimes a lineman's shack would be open or something like that. They would often find shelter in places like the Salvation Army or other city or local shelters. It just depended on where they were and how cold it was. But there were times when they had to make their own shelters. And we're going to show you what that's like right now. We've got our place here behind us. We've got our bindle against a tree. We've got some of our classic hobo tools, and I can be going over some of that again as we work. But basically, we're going to need a hammer, we're going to need a pair of pliers, and we may need a few odds and ends of other things. But this is a very, very simple project, but it does take a little bit of work, but it's very fast. If you have the materials to hand and you know what you're doing, you should be able to put this up in a half an hour or less, depending on how good you are at carpentry. The modern pallet, or skid as we know it, began to come to being as it is recognized today in about 1917, further developed in the 1920s and the 1930s. But these became very useful to the hobo because not only were they cheap and readily available, but they could often be found around construction sites, abandoned places, a lot of warehouse places, just set out as they are today in the back of buildings for someone just to haul away. And as a matter of fact, even today, many places will give you these for free if you'll just haul them off. So again, a great resource for the hobo. So what we're going to do is we're going to haul several of these to our site, and we're going to set up a quickie shelter. Let's get started. Now, if a fella can find one like this or several that are fairly solid in the back, they'll have a lot of slat openings, this is ideal, and you want to put this for the back of the shelter. As you can see, we've got our three sides up, but there's another important issue. Put any weight on top of this and they're just going to fall apart. They're not being held together by anything. Before we go any farther, I want to make sure and remind you to sign up at waypointsurvival.com for our brand new newsletter. Within the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a drawing to give away a nice e-bike. It is one of the bikes that I previously tested and reviewed this year. It's a very nice bike, has just a very few miles on it, just what I reviewed. It is only for people in the continental 48 United States. I have to box this up and ship it, and I can't really afford to ship it overseas, but it's a fantastic bike. It rides well, it's got plenty of power. However, you must be signed up for the newsletter. And again, there's going to be a link down in the description box of the video, as well as in the top pinned comment. You don't want to miss this great deal. I want to give this away to somebody. I think you're really going to like it. So make sure and sign up, and we'd sure appreciate it. Also, I want to let you know that when you do win, you will be contacted by phone from me personally. We're not going to do any of the WhatsApp or texting or anything like that. If anybody says anything like that, it's not me and you didn't win. When you win, you will hear from me personally. So make sure and put your name in there so we can do the contact for the drawing, and make sure that we get a hold of you personally, because we want to make sure that somebody, one of my viewers, wins this great e-bike. Thanks a lot. One of the tools that a hobo might carry would be a small hammer of some sort like this. And so this would be very handy. It's not very long, very easy to hold. It's got a good claw on it. And you would use this for ripping apart crates, maybe for a job, but also for something like this. All kinds of repair jobs. And we're going to try to get some nails, and we're going to fasten this together. Now ordinarily what you would do is you would take your hammer and you would pry out some of the nails from the skids or whatever you want to pry them out of, an old building perhaps, and you would have to flatten them out. But that again, of course, is another skill. A lot of people knew how to do that. As a matter of fact, in the old days, they would even burn old cabins down, and once it was all charred and ashes, they would scrape and recover all the nails after everything had cooled off. Iron and nails were literally that valuable. All right, so the first place we're going to put wood on is across the corners. So we've got the two back corners. That's going to form a nice L shape, and I'll show you how we do that. First, we're going to take our board here, and we're just going to place it across at an angle. So we're going from this corner to this corner. Super simple. These coats have great big huge pockets. We've got some old nails here. And this does not have to be something that is permanent. What we're going to do is we're going to nail this in, and we're going to bend the nail over, just clinch it a little bit so we can easily take it apart when we're done. All right, so you can see the one skid extends out over the side quite a bit. There's a couple of feet actually out over there. And then we've just taken an angle this way and an angle this way, and then we've nailed one across to hold it in place. It's not fancy, it's crude, but it is fast, and this gives us our 3 walls here that we're going to need for our shelter. All right, and now we're getting to some of the more important parts. We've got to put a roof on. We've got a long piece of a skid here. This is just the bottom. It's been knocked off, and the board's pulled and nails pulled out of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to nail right here on this corner. We're going to put a nail right in here, maybe a couple, to help hold this at an angle. All right, we're going to put it right down here at this corner at a pretty extreme angle, and kind of hold things together here. It can be a little difficult. Of course, you want to be careful when you're working around nails and fingers and all that. All right, so now we've got this fastened, and it can move, so it's sort of hinged. And that's important as we go to put this up. Now this part can be a little tricky, so you might have to work with a little bit. This is why it's very important to get those first 4 nailed together. So what we're doing is we're going to bring it over here, and we're going to set it up like this. And this is going to become our support for the roof. All right. Well, our nail came out, so we're going to have to re-nail it here, but that's okay. We can do that pretty easily. All right, so we've got this one side up, and something that I'll show you that we did in the back is we put a brace to hold up the rear of our roof structure. All right, so this needs to be really sturdy, because if it happens to snow or rain a lot, we don't want it to fall in. And so all we did is we took this board here and we put a couple of nails in this cross piece to hold this steady, and then this is resting against it. So that's going to give us a lot of strength. Now there's a couple other things we can do to make this stronger from the back, and I'll show you that in a minute. However, one of the most important things to remember is these skids that are for the roof, they need to be roughly the same size if you can do it. If not, that's fine, just fit them together. It's not supposed to be a perfect shelter, it's just supposed to work. All right, as you can see, it's coming together, and we've got one braced over top of the other. So we've got a bit of an overhang. That's to take advantage of the notches that are in the skids. I'll give you a close-up of that. Okay, so the way these skids are made, they've got these cutouts here where the forks can go under them, and this just happens to fit really nicely over top of this other skid, and that gives kind of a hook. And then we can, pull this together and put some nails in it and all of that. But first we got to do some bracing to the back. So in order for this shelter to stay up like it's supposed to, we have to support this. It's pretty floppy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're just going to take another one of our scrap boards, and we're just going to nail it just right here. Just put an upright, and that's going to help hold all of this together. We're going to put a couple in this just to make sure that it holds well. Now we've got to put a couple in down here. again, as the bottom part of our brace and support. All right, that's actually pretty strong. We've got our brace here against the ground, got our angle brace so the shelter doesn't blow over in the wind, and now we've got our roof pretty well fastened down. Okay, our shelter's coming together pretty well. Any place where the wood touches on the angles or around the corners, if you've got enough nails, go ahead and put a nail in there. It's just going to help. But we've got one more brace to put on that's just going to really help it be a lot stronger. We've got one more piece of wood here, and we're going to try to put it up in here at a crossways like this, and that's going to give us a nice cross piece. We're just going to nail it in place, and that's going to give us our triangle support that is so very important to have when you're building roof structures. Then we're going to put one more right in the middle, our cross brace, and then if it pokes through, you're going to clinch it over in the back. But that's pretty good, and that's our basic framework for our shelter. Now, according to where a hobo might be, as you can tell, we've got a structure, but we don't actually have a roof. And so you might find scrap pieces of metal or tin, maybe a bunch of different scrap pieces, maybe a building that's fallen down and you can pull some scrap off and kind of bend it and shape it and put around it. Or if you were around some industrial area and maybe a garbage heap and you could find an old piece of canvas, perhaps an old tarp or something like that, that's going to work well for this, and that's what we're going to use. So hobos would also carry canvas with them as part of their roll or blanket roll or bed roll. So it could also be used for this and then merely taken off, rolled up and taken with them when they left. All right, we've got our roof on. Now, a smart bow will always have some cordage with him, perhaps already attached to the tarp, which I do. And so all you're going to do is take those edges, those four corners, and you're just going to lash them down over top of the shelter. And if you'll notice, the tarp is big enough that it goes down over the back quite a bit as well. And that is also really, really important because it helps keep the wind out, helps hold the heat in, and of course keeps rain and snow from blowing in on you. All right, we've got the roof on, got everything lashed down. It's time to get a fire, make some coffee. It's going to be a cold one tonight. One thing that a bow carries is he always carries lots of paper, either old wrapping paper or newspaper. It's a hobo's best friend, and if you keep it dry, it'll take a flame real quick, even if there's damp twigs about. A bow also makes sure he carries a whole lot of matches. And we've got plenty of strike anywhere matches here, and we also carry a bit of striker as well, because if you get into a wet environment, you never know what you might need. All right, we are ready. First flames. Wonderful. Oh yes, that's what we're looking for. A little bit of fire going here, and we'll be comfortable in no time. All right, time to retrieve the bindle and stick it over here in the corner, out of the way. Now remember that a shelter like this, it's not something that you would necessarily stay in all the time, and if you were going to do that, you would want to continue to improve it. You would get more boards, you'd cover up all the slats and the sides, you'd probably cover up one side, build you some sort of a small door. And of course you want to keep your fire small because there's a lot of heat coming up here against your tarp. So you want to make sure that you keep it small and manageable, enough just to keep you warm, to warm up the shelter, take off the chill. That's another reason why you wear many, many clothes. Hobos often wear multiple layers of clothes, both pants and shirts, as well as wool overcoats and blankets if they could happen to find a blanket, gloves, all of those things were very important. But having a shelter, if you couldn't get to one in town, was very important. And then with a simple tripod and a lashing, a bit of a cord, we've got our coffee percolating here, got some shelving here behind us. Around these skids, we've got places we can set some of our gear. Makes it pretty nice. And believe it or not, It's quite a bit warmer in here than it is outside of the shelter. Right now it's about 28 degrees Fahrenheit, of course, and 4 degrees below freezing, but this is quite cozy. A bit of a tip here, make sure you use really dry firewood for this, or you're going to end up just smoking you and your shelter out. That's going to happen sometimes anyway, depending on the wind, but the drier wood that you can procure, the better off you're going to be. And then eventually most of the snow in here is going to melt, and you'll have a pretty comfy shelter. Not any place to lay down and sleep. You'll kind of have to just hunch around and do the best you can. But it is going to work. It's going to keep you out of the elements. It's definitely better than sleeping outside without any kind of cover. This is a pretty sturdy shelter. I've got a bit of a log to sit on here. It was around the fire, and the coffee is done percolating. So let's go ahead and pour ourselves a cup. All right, let's see here. Oh, that smells absolutely delicious. Oh yeah, that's going to warm us up. All right, time to enjoy a well-deserved bit of hot coffee. Done to perfection. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this little trip into the past and a glimpse into what our hobo ancestors used to do back in the 20s and the 30s when they were traveling and looking for work or just out for an adventure. Now that's good coffee. This is James Bender for WayPoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure and check out the links in the description box just under the More button. While you're down there, you'll find the link for our WayPoint Survival digital class. And this is where you can sign up to train in the comfort and convenience of your own backyard the top 20 skills that we consider to be the most important from our Phase 1 Survival and Bushcraft class. You'll also find where you can sign up for our brand new WayPoint Survival newsletter. And don't forget that this week and the next few days, we're going to be picking a winner for an e-bike. So sign up for the WayPoint Survival and Prepping 101 newsletter. It's completely free and chock full of great ideas. Comes out at least once a week, if not more often. You'll also find the link for waypointsurvival.com. And this is where you can sign up to take in-person classes at our beautiful training facility here in Southern Ohio. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, make sure and press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.